Michigan versus Penn State. Chris, I'll start us off here with Michigan. So obviously right now, if you Google Michigan football, it's probably going to be about nothing to do with this game and everything to do with the alleged sign-stealing scandal that's going on. That's not what we're here for. That's being talked about to death. We're going to talk about this matchup, right?
Let's go.
And the question that I'll have you answer here in a minute for me is, does that bleed in, right? Chris, we touched on this to start it off here, and that's Michigan, ever since this thing has come out, I think they've played better. Honestly,
agreed.
They haven't let the distractions kind of get with them and rattle them. They've played better. Now, this is by far Penn State's going to be the best team they played to date, without a question in my mind. Right? Mm-hmm. McCarthy's looked good. I mean, 3 interceptions to 18 touchdowns. Blake Corum still running the rock pretty good. Blake Corum has 16 touchdowns on the year, dude.
It's what Blake Corum does, man, in that run game, bro. Doesn't surprise me one bit.
I mean, they at times they're not really sexy in offense. They're kind of just a grind you out, pound you out kind of team, and they use that run to set up the pass. And sometimes they can do vice versa if it's not working. They do a really good job at that. Defensively, we know they're good on defense, right? That's the bread and butter that Harbaugh really wants to do. My question is, Penn State has a good defense too. Penn State has this, really good quarterback on the other side of it that Chris is going to tell us about. With this being the best team, the most real team, all offseason, all we heard about was Penn State. They're ready to take the leap this year. They're ready to take the Big Ten by storm. Is this the game where we see chaos start to ensue here, Chris?
Yeah, and you're right, and that's what I'm going to segue right into here. Penn State, man, I feel like it's like this every year, right? I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But I would agree with you. This is probably the best team James Franklin's had. I would say that from top to bottom. He finally got a quarterback in there, and Drew Aller. They're 8-1 on the year. Christian, third in the Big Ten. The only loss was to Ohio State a few weeks ago. I think that score was 20-12. Penn State probably played their best game of the year last week against a Maryland team. Put up like 51 points. Just completely dismantled Maryland. Maryland obviously not as good as what we thought they were going to be this year, but still, Penn State's offense looked really good. Drew Aller played amazing. But you're right. Do or die time for Penn State this week. This is it. I mean, your season's over for a playoff berth if you don't get this one. So, James Franklin, Christian, he needs a win. It needs to come this year. It's got to. I've said that so many fucking times on this podcast over the summer leading up to this game. Here's a stat that just kills me, though. He's 3-16 against top 10 teams. Not a good record, man. It's not. And we know what Michigan is. You alluded to it earlier. Drew Aller's got to play elite in this one, Christian. He's going to have to play like he did last week, but against a much, much better Michigan defense, as you said earlier. The run game with Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, man, it's been good this year. It's been solid. They both got over combined, I think, 1,000 yards. They got like 11 or 12 TDs on the ground. You know what Penn State's going to do. They're a very similar version to what Michigan is, right? I kind of call them Michigan's little brother. They play a very similar style of play. At the end of the day, though, Christian, if Penn State wants to win this game, again, like I said, it's coming down to Drew Aller, man. It is. He's going to have to be able to push the ball down the field, convert third downs. I'm so big on that. That's where elite quarterbacks stand out, especially in college football. And keep Michigan's offense off the field. You know what Michigan's going to do. They're going to ground and pound you. J.J. McCarthy is a pretty good quarterback. He's learned to throw the ball. He's limited to turnovers this year. He's only gotten better from last year. On the other side of the ball, Penn State's only given up 11 points per game. The only teams better than them is Ohio State and Michigan. Here's the thing, dude. If Penn State, and I want Penn State in my heart to win this game, Christian, badly. I do. I'm not a Michigan fan. I am not an Ohio State fan. I like James Franklin. I root for the underdog most weeks. They're going to have to be able to shut down and contain Corum a little bit. You talked about 16 touchdowns on the ground this year. That is a shit ton. I expect Corum to score in this game, but you're going to have to slow him down a little bit. And I think you got to try to make JJ beat you through the air. I do. And I'm not saying JJ McCarthy can't throw the ball. He can, but he's not known for that necessarily yet. Michigan's the definition of bully ball. That's what they do. Ask Nebraska about it. couple weeks ago. I mean, they just slammed it down our throat. You know what's coming. Speaking of playbooks, Nebraska could have handed Michigan their playbook, and there would have been nothing we could have done about it. So I'm going to give you my prediction here, Christian. Again, as much as I want Penn State to win this one, I believe Michigan, cheating aside, wink, wink, has looked good. And, they're probably the more complete team overall this year. Give me Michigan 31, Penn State 17.
Yeah. Chris, I want to add one more thing into here. Last year they played this game. I think Penn State gave up, 400 yards rushing to Michigan, some absurd stat like that. Interestingly enough, if you just take a quick little Google, do you know who the number one rush defense in the country is?
Right now?
Yeah. It's Penn State.
Wow. Okay.
Penn State is the best at stopping the run right now in the country from a statistical standpoint. Okay. And they played some good teams. So I think that's going to show in this game. Give me the upset on it. Franklin needs a statement victory at Penn State, I think, to keep him off the hot seat. As crazy as that is. Give me Penn State 31, Michigan 28.